Joining us now to discuss the BTC price and more is David Siemer. He's a co-founder and CEO of investment firm Wave Financial. David, thanks for joining us this afternoon. So what about it? Do you see correlations between Bitcoin and inflation expectations? What's guiding Bitcoin?
We do see that at Wave. I mean, I think a lot more of it is tied to just risk asset baskets in general. So as risk assets go, so goes Bitcoin. So that those happen to go with those inflation markers as well. So I think that's more of the correlation.
All right. So we heard from the Fed yesterday. They're raising rates by about 50 basis points, widely in tune with expectations, slowing down the rate of interest rate hikes. Inflation numbers are still up, but advancing more modestly going forward. How is that impacting the crypto markets?
As you said, it was within expectations. So in that sense, it didn't. I mean, it had very a little bit of impact. I mean, Bitcoin went up with the rest of the stock market, then it's kind of settled back down with the rest of the stock market. So again, if it was been a surprise, I think we would have seen something more interesting to speak about. And and going forward, I mean, obviously the Fed is targeting, and everyone's expecting them to cap out around 5%. That seems pretty reasonable. I think that'll do the sufficient damage they're trying to do to employment, to the economy in general, to make the impact on inflation they want to have. So I think that's very expected, and as long as that narrative is continues, and there aren't any shocks to that narrative, I think I think crypto is seeing what's the negative side already, and is in a pretty good place. If you look at where, for my own expectations, when we saw that, the FTX news and a lot of other DCG news and everything else, it seemed like I would have assumed Bitcoin prices would be a lot worse. So I'm very pleasantly surprised that we have held up, fairly well, given the scale of what's gone wrong and still is going wrong in our market.
Well, curiously, Bitcoin rallied to over $18,000 the other day, despite the FTX fallout, Binance fears, Genesis fears. One theory that people are putting out there is that people are converting USDC or other crypto to Bitcoin because it's easier to get off exchanges like Binance. What do you think of that theory?
That's always the case. We've seen that every cycle. I mean, if you're in alts, and in particular, if you're in a market where getting to fiat is more challenging, people do need to sell their tether to a Bitcoin to get it to a fiat rail. So I think there is a little bit of that. I don't think that's the main thing holding up the price right now. I think it's more broad-based and more based on people's desire to own the asset at this price. Apparently there's a lot of buyers for Bitcoin at 17K, and if what you mentioned was exactly the case, obviously seen alts do worse than Bitcoin, but that happens every cycle. If Bitcoin goes down 50%, alts go down 75%. They're always high beta to Bitcoin. We haven't seen anything unusual. So we are not.
Do you see further crypto contagion impact from FTX on BTC, or perhaps there are other crypto firms out there that could also go bust?
FTX is fully priced at this point. I mean, it's impossible to avoid the news, even if you don't like crypto. Talking to my parents about FTX this morning, I was like, they don't really care about crypto. So it's fully priced in. Now, obviously, the DCG news is the other big scary number on the horizon potentially. I don't think Grayscale is going to liquidate. I don't think Binance is actually in trouble. Same as you said, we have a lot of research analysts here. We watch the on-chain activity, and I was actually with CZ in Abu Dhabi for the Milken Summit a few weeks ago. Like, I have very few.
Did he say anything? What was that like? What were those conversations like?
We both were bidding against each other on the Voyager asset last auction process. So we were kind of commiserating about the process. Anyway, but it's no, I mean, I didn't ask him specifically, are you wait? It was over cocktails on a boat, both times.
Of course.
So no, but it's, but I mean, I also know what got FTX in trouble. I mean, we traded against FTX a little bit. We're not really a trading shop even. We're more of an asset manager, but I know lots of people that made their, wealth in crypto, basically arbitraging FTX itself, their whole cross-margining platform. that was supposed to be revolutionary, and that Binance and Deribit were racing to try to catch up to, it obviously didn't exist. They couldn't cross margin, one set of collateral against 20 futures trades or whatever. So they just basically got, most of the money, it seems to me, was lost not on theft, it was on incompetence. Their system couldn't handle collateral itself. And so people, when they should have been liquidating people, they didn't. When people, they allowed, other users to do kind of very convoluted trades where they could just, take money from FTX directly. The whole rumors about Alameda front running all the retail users, they actually weren't a whole lot as far as anybody can tell. They were actually getting front run.
You mentioned talking to CZ about buying up digital Voyager assets. Are you looking to buy in this climate?
Yeah, and obviously that's, anyway, so Voyager's in a bankruptcy process. There's a lot of NDAs. We bid on it before. It's very public. We were basically the second high bidder. We are looking at it again. We're also looking at a lot of other distressed assets in the space right now, which is like basically all of them. There's not a lot of strong, companies out there. We've been, very fortunate and hopefully very good at Wave to not have stepped into any of the, kind of counterparty risks that a lot of our peers have been inflicted on.
Can you name any names, or are there certain assets you're looking for?
There are certain types of assets, yes. I can't share you the names yet, but we are, MOU phase with a couple of centralized companies we're trying to acquire. There's several more we're looking at. If you have a good balance sheet, which is rare, this is a really awesome time. Wave is an asset manager, so we do wealth and treasury management. We do it the right way, certain managed accounts.
Anything in FTX group that might catch your fancy?
Yeah, there's a lot of NFT assets. We're also looking pretty aggressively. At the 3AC assets, we did take a decent look at all the assets that are in bankruptcy. A lot of assets that aren't in bankruptcy. We have a pretty sizable team that goes and looks at these things. And yeah, there's some great assets inside of FTX. They were a massive VC fund. They invested in tons of stuff. They have a large NFT portfolio. So does 3AC, which is finally coming to market now and is an interesting buying opportunity potentially. On FTX, nothing's going to be available for, probably, at least 6. And as much of the fraud criminality stuff takes a while to figure out, it's probably 12 months until, anyone can bid on those assets, meaning when the bankruptcy, process has reached that point.
In terms of BTC, has Bitcoin reached its bottom? What is your outlook on 2023?
3 weeks ago, I would have said it's definitely not bottomed. And actually right now that I'm getting a little more bullish that maybe this is the bottom, that we've kind of taken the blow. There's a lot of bad news absorbed. There's a lot of FUD in the marketplace. I would put Binance's FUD in the Binance news. I think the market has weathered it really, really well. Like I'm surprised. I thought we would see like Bitcoin 13K. I had orders in at 13K and didn't film. So I thought we'd see a lot worse as more and more of these messes kind of unfolded, and there's still some things to come. We're not done. The things that got Voyager in trouble and FTX in trouble, like a lot of other exchanges did it too. Not huge exchanges. I'm not not Binance and Coinbase or Kraken or some other what I consider very well-run exchanges. But I won't name them now. But there's several exchanges across Asia that basically kind of copied the Voyager business model. They were a mid-sized exchange that was doing just okay, and they wanted to do a lot better and raise VC capital. So they said, Celsius can offer 10% on cash. We can too. We've got a website. We've got customers. And in order to do that, not just pay it out, but actually make it on the other side, you had to do the same risky things everybody else did. In Celsius' case, it was a bunch of, bizarrely risky, DeFi strategies. For Voyager, it was 3AC. For a bunch of other exchanges, it was, the Babbles of the world and, similar companies, that were offering you those with really, really high yields, 12% on cash, 8% on Bitcoin. Those aren't sustainable yields. So a lot of them are still probably in trouble, but, we don't know exactly who they are yet.